Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this community showdown between the Dwarves, who shall be led by Umais, facing off against the Warriors of Chaos, who shall be helmed by the Central Scrutinizer. It's going to be Sigvald versus Thoric. Let's see how this showdown goes. Certainly a very interesting build. Now, something you don't see terribly often. Thoric is obviously the most meta choice for Dwarves. He just brings so much to the table. He basically has a massive AoE buff in the Rune of Doom. But why, oh why are we seeing Thane? So we have one Thane here, and another Thane on the far side, who happens to have a very, very strange item that you don't see terribly often. The Silver Horn of Vengeance. Okay, so this is going to be giving a charge bonus of plus 12 to the Dwarvish Infantry, I believe, or is it just him? Let's go and double check this. So affects allies in range, it's constant. Okay, oh, you have to activate it. Okay, so it's got a 22-second duration. So that's going to be putting a charge bonus of these Longbeards up to actually, you know, a considerable amount. What is it, 22, did I say? So that'll be putting them up to 40. Oh, it's only 12. Okay, still not bad. Puts them up to 30, a little bit more punch there. And of course, that in conjunction with Thoric's Horn could give the Dwarves a little bit of extra DACA. Now, for the Dowie build, we got Longbeards with great weapons. They seem to be the epicenter, and Longbeards with great weapons, if you are going to be going for, air quotes, elite Dwarven great weapon unit, they're much more cost-effective than hammers in my experience. Pretty much every single time I have used Dwarven hammers, at least in the past year or two, I've been very disappointed. So definitely recommend the Longbeards. They're immune to psychology, they're durable, they're very cost-effective, and those bad boys get the job done. Now, we got a couple of them mixed in with Warriors of Dragonfire Pass and basic Longbeards. So the idea is that the great weapons go after the armor, and if they have, Chaos Warrior Marauders or Chaos Marauders, just the cheaper variant, the Longbeards can fight them because you don't need the armor piercing there, and they have the higher melee defense to mitigate the damage output of the non-armored great weapon unit. Got a couple archers in the backfield, triple Quarreler, probably to shoot Manticores, I would imagine. Double Manticore is very, very meta in this matchup. Also, Marauder Horsemen are somewhat prevalent as well, so having these is kind of a cool tech. You know, normally you see a lot of Dwarf players go with Thunders, considering the wide variety of armor that Chaos has, but this is kind of a cool mix-up, like going more heavy-duty into the great weapon, infantry-based armor piercing supported by Thoric's Anvil, and using these to deal with the Manticores. Because again, Quarrelers will be more effective against Manticores than like Thunders would. Their arcs of fire are better, they can hit things at weird angles and get the job done. Double Slayers in the back, and that is it. Now for the Central Scrutinizer. Looks like a pretty damn solid build to me. He's got Marauder Horsemen, which are very good at harassing Slayers. Slayers have low armor and do have their Walmart shields of their twirling axes. But basically, the Marauder Horsemen just kind of sit behind them and get some solid poke. Aside from that, we got Chaos Marauder great weapons mixed with Warriors, I would imagine. Yeah, it's just like a mix match up on the front line. Double Manticore, double Chariot, Sigvald, and a Deathcaster with a little bit of Soulblight, too. Soulblight, of course, can be nice by lowering the Dwarven armor down to, say, 70 on Longbeards and making the Chaos Chariots, which don't have the best armor piercing, a little bit more effective. So we'll see how this goes. So right here, the Rune of Breaking. Oh, check this shit out. This is cool. So Rune of Breaking actually gives some extra armor piercing damage and armor sundering. Oh, that's a really cool combo. So look at this. They're sundering the armor of the Chaos Warrior great weapons with the Quarreler shafts. See, that's something that never even occurred to me. That is a really, really cool execution. Very excited to see that. Now, on the front line, the Thane does overextend a little bit. He does have the Silver Horn of Vengeance, but the Central Scrutinizer is very quick to pick up on this freebie and is going to be jumping in with the Manticore and or Sigvald, or both of them, I should say. But look at the Chaos Warriors get melted by that Quarreler fire. In the meantime, in the backfield, Quarrelers do turn about face and start shooting at the Marauder Horsemen, while the Longbeards do overextend a little bit. Slightly problematic. It does leave a bit of an opening here in the formation for the Horsemen maybe to kind of Tokyo drift around. But the cool thing about Quarrelers is they're basically like Dwarf Warriors. They're fairly resilient, so they can hold their own. Now, Thoric and company do beat back the Chaos Warrior great weapons, but they have to make sure not to overchase. If they chase out here, they're going to have to hoof it a long way back to come protect their allies. And now the Central Scrutinizer, the Empire strikes back. The Rebellion has struck a blow, and now the Evil Empire is going to be jumping in there and doing some work. As Chariots do get into both Quarreler units. Is that one Chariot unit shutting down 2 Quarrelers? Yeah, there's like 2 models here and 1 here. That's actually a little bit of a boon there for the Warriors of Chaos. Manticore is now jumping into the back line, and great weapon units, Chaos Warriors seem to be out trading the Longbeards, but it is a close fight. A little bit of missile support from either side could make all of the difference. Blasting charges also lending their support into the Chaos Warriors. Over here, of course, they won the fight because of Sigvald and the Manticore. And it looks like one of the Chariots was temporarily shut down by all of the different Quarreler pieces. So yeah, that Chariot is certainly out of commission. One model, and Thoric did overchase a little bit. Slight mistake there. He's having to hoof his way back. He uses the Rune of Speed on himself and his crew. That's so funny. To try and get back to the battle a little bit faster as the Quarrelers continue to hold their ground. Very nice maneuvering. He's been able to keep both of them alive, but Soulblight is active. The Marauders here are broken off by the brave Slayers, but now Warriors have piled in, and Slayers have extremely inefficient trade versus heavy armor, so they're just pretty much going to have to be sacrificed to the Ancestor Gods. But, that's more or less what they want, right? They want to fulfill their oath, and they're certainly doing it for a purpose, because It's buying time for the Dwarvish army to pull back, restructure its forces, and have a little bit of a, a safer engagement here. But the Warriors of Chaos are cunning indeed. Sigvald, with his slippery nature, has been able to get through, and he does bait the blasting charges into the Quarrelers. A little bit unfortunate, as the Quarrelers do get hit with their own blasting charges, but Sigvald does get on top of the Quarreler units. Warriors of Chaos moving in with everything they have. And Thoric and the boys trying to get into combat as well. Now, how will Thoric do against Sigvald? Probably pretty good. He has high armor. He also has good armor-piercing values, physical resist here. He's pretty ready to go. So in a straight fight, I don't know how it would go in a one-on-one grind. I think Sigvald might be able to edge it out just because of how good his combat stats are and his regeneration. But, in a normal circumstance, in the heat of battle, in a melee, you could say, Thoric is going to be able to put some hurt on him. So one-man score does rampage here. The Dwarvish infantry appear to have secured the flanks to an extent, actually winning several engagements here. Longbeard's holding very efficiently. If you had spent this money on hammerers, they would be broken and routed right now. Might have done a little bit more damage, but yeah, the holding is what's really, really important for sure. And now we get the 2v1 fight. So the heroic killing blow is active on Sigvald. He gets a nice little shield bash on Thoric, but the Thane, not the one with the Horn of Vengeance, unfortunately, but the other one, are getting a nice 2v1 on Sigvald here. Spirit Leech going down as well. Magic, of course, it's going to be less effective on the anvil. The entire dwarf army should have about 40% magic resist right now, but still, Spirit Leech is, helpful. It'll get a couple hundred damage in there. And the dwarves are able to repel the Feral Manscore by protecting the Quarrelers here, which are now being collapsed on by a million Marauder Horsemen. But I think the time of having, formations and, general tactics has devolved into a bit of a skirmish and melee and just a wild slobber knocker of a fight. So Sigvald getting his butt absolutely kicked by those two dwarves. Look at that, man, just getting a ton of damage on him. Thoric is a really, really formidable combatant, and that 120 armor really helps to mitigate a lot of Sigvald's damage. But ignoring Sigvald at this point, going after the Deathcaster, which is a little bit trapped up here, will potentially get rid of Spirit Leeches and Soul Blights. And it looks like the Rune of Speed is active, so this entire Dwarven fighting force here in the center of the map is going to be getting 24 melee attack, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and 45% speed. That Chaos Sorcerer gets just grudged into oblivion. Massive beatdown coming in from the Bicep Lord himself. Thoric, of course, he's got that sweet sleeveless outfit. And the remnants of the Dragonback Slayer is able to very, very efficiently take apart that Manscore. So the dwarves seem to be stabilizing here in the center. The last hope for the Warriors of Chaos, of course, is Sigvald. And Sigvald not feeling so hot right now, being beaten down by this Dwarven character squad. And the Manscore is rampaging into a pretty unfortunate fight as well. Oh, that was pretty cool. He smashes the anvil and lightning shoots out. Yeah, pretty neat. Because when Thoric fights, sometimes it looks like he's just hitting the air, but this kind of makes sense, right? He's smashing the anvil and it's shooting lightning out at the target. A little bit more, makes a little bit more sense. So here come the boys, just trying to clean up the, remnants of the Chaos Force outside of Sigvald. The Chaos Sorcerer of Death making its way in, as is the Feral Manscore. Going to be jumping in, maybe getting a terror route. Nope, no, not against Longbeards. Longbeards are ITP, the Insane Troll Posse, or Immunopsychology, and the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are not, but they're in okay health. It'd be a little bit tricky to maybe get a terror route on them, although right as I say that, a massive angry horde of Chaos Chariots ride through them. Get a lot of damage, bringing them down a handful of models, getting swarmed pretty efficiently. But, I don't know if the Chaos Army, if Chaos could maybe manage to clear out the infantry, Sigvald plus the Manticore and the Goon Squad might actually be able to beat Thoric and the Thane. But I just don't see that happening, especially with the Manticore rampaging into its arch enemy here, the Dragonback Slayers, which are just so well designed to deal with it. And Chaos, in response to the rampaging Manticore, does scream in there with their Chaos Chariots, which is a good play. The Rune of Doom active once again. Man, Thoric is just such a boon to the dwarves. It's a shame the Dwarven, FLC wasn't enough to battle the 3 or 4 Skaven DLCs, but it certainly helped them out in a lot of matchups, but not enough against the Skaven. But that's a subject for another day. But looking close to army losses here, Sigvald is beaten down by the Unified Dwarves as the Great Weapon Infantry hit him in the back. Thoric zaps him with some lightning, and the Thane karate kicks him with his signature Dwarf Jitsu, as it's called. So, very cool game. I really loved the innovation of the Rune of Breaking to give armor sundering to the crossbows. I thought that was a really cool tech. Obviously, we only really got to see it used once, but it was pretty effective when it was used. And yeah, the Thanes were decent. 980, 1500 on him. The other Thane, if it had been a little bit more cautious, right, it could have been even more effective. But overall, I really like the build. I love Longbeards with great weapons. I thought the Quarrelers were very effective. And this is basically the exact build I bring against dwarves. The one difference with me is I like to bring Warp Chicken instead of Sigvald, but this is more or less a very competitive, very meta chaos build, and a very strong player in the Central Scrutinizer. So yeah, obviously the build has some teeth. Well played to these two champs, to Yumai's and Central Scrutinizer. We'll see you guys back soon with more replays. And if there's any matches or anything you guys really want to see in general, just let me know. All right, that's it. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.